Maybe part of it is our fault, and by our I mean journalists, for hyping features like this up. They go on first drives and they're like, oh yeah, you throw it into sport mode and this thing really gets up and goes. It feels real sporty. Come on, guys. No, it doesn't. It's a Lexus RX. It's still driving with a little four-cylinder inside. It's still a large 4,400 pound luxury crossover. I want to get in this car and I don't want to feel any road. I don't want to hear any road. I don't want to hear any engine. I simply want to hear my classical music, and I want to drive with a good adaptive cruise control, and I want to get to my destination and continue on with my life. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. This week I've been driving the Lexus RX 350. This is finally a production level Lexus RX. The first one we had when I was out in Michigan was an RX 500H, and that was a pre-production model. So I've been wanting to get my hands on this one to experience what it's like without some of the pre-production issues. I'll go as far as to say issues. Part of that was to review the Mark Levinson sound system, which unfortunately this one doesn't have. There's a lot of things that this one doesn't have, and they kind of add up to be reasons why I don't think this is the right RX for you to go out and buy. Some of them are only inherent to this trim, this RX 350 all-wheel drive. The other alternatives are the hybrid, which is, I believe, the 450H. That's the one I think you should get. It's going to be about the same speed, cost about $1,500 more, but be remarkably more efficient. In fact, if you drive about 10,000 miles a year, you're going to see that fuel economy savings made up, at least in a place like here in California. If you got real cheap gas, it might take you about 2 years or so. But it's going to drive smoother, it's going to be a nicer ownership experience, and be cheaper for you after a few years. The other thing is this one has this F-Sport badge on it. Why? Why is an RX, a car like this, why does it have an F-Sport badge? I don't understand. Why does this one need adaptive suspension that's going to add cost in development, cost in parts, and be a feature that no one buying an RX is going to have? This car should be hybrid only, and it should not have any sort of F-Sport development even on it. I genuinely want to know, if you're an RX owner, did you go with the F-Sport? Why did you go with the F-Sport? And do you ever drive your RX Sporty? I really just don't understand that concept here. So I'd much rather have seen them take money out of the development costs and out of the parts cost of this car. The one in front of us here cost about $63,000. Give me the plushiest, quietest, easy driving experience possible. Don't give me any sort of drive modes. Just give me a serene, mid-sized to larger compact crossover that the RX always has been. And fortunately, it still does a lot of that really well. So let's talk about it. It's not really too much worth showing you. This isn't going to be a huge in-depth sort of review on every little nook, cranny, and feature of this car. You can find that. The RX has been out for a little while here. But I do want to point out some attributes I do appreciate. You see a nice big subwoofer there, even with this base 12-speaker sound system from Panasonic. You've got a nice flat load surface here. And up underneath the floor, you have a compact spare tire. I know a lot of people are going to appreciate that. And look where the jack is. Look how easy that's going to be to get to your spare tire and your jack right there. So that is still prioritized here. I appreciate that. I also appreciate having seats that power fold right down, and the headrests aren't even in the way right now. So you're getting a fairly flat load surface. It's very easy to make happen right there. And with the optional power kick tailgate thing here, if you kind of learn where to press your foot properly, maybe. Come on. Ease of use is not prioritized in this car. Why isn't it working? I don't understand. It just works to open it. Am I not kicking in the right spot? See, this has sort of characterized my time with the RX. It does some things so well, and then it kills it. and I lose it there. I get frustrated. The handles are not real door handles that come out. There's simply buttons underneath here. And their thought process on that was make the door opening situation safer, which, okay, fair enough. If you're going to put engineering cost and effort into something, into a car, that's actually, I get that for a car like this. The idea is if you go and try to open the door and there's a bicyclist coming down the street or a car coming or a pedestrian, the door actually won't open right away. This is if you're inside the vehicle. So you can see you've actually got a button right there. That's how you open the door. It is just controlling the lock electronically. Now there is still a physical emergency connection. You can pull this out, and if you pull it out twice, then you can still get out of the car. Even if the battery were dead or something like that, you can still get out. Does that work for the back doors as well? I imagine it does. Yep, yeah. So you can still get out if the battery's dead, but if I'm inside the car here and somebody were running by me, it would actually prevent me from opening the door right away, which, okay, yeah, I get that. That's a cool sort of 21st century sort of safety feature. Happy to report they did not screw up the back seat area. Good amount of room. If you own an RX, I picture you're kind of somebody later on in life. You've graduated from the days of Toyotas, and you want to get yourself something nice. You want an easy driving and ownership experience. Really, you don't want to you want to isolate yourself from the driving experience. You want to be able to put a lot of things in your car when you need to, but then when you don't need to, you want a very nice, smooth, and ultimately forgettable driving experience. And you might want to put people in the back every now and again, and it's good to know that as an adult, 5'10" here, I've got plenty of room, and the seats are comfortable, they recline nice. I've got a place to put my elbows, and a place to put my drinks, and I've got air cooling me down here. I've got climate control back here. I've got USB-C ports to power my devices, pockets to put my things. They really did get the back seat area done proper. They did a lot of things proper with the front area as well. I've been a fan of these seats. However, Alyssa pointed out, and this is keen advice here, the lumbar support is two-way only, and that actually really surprises me. I mean, we're talking about a Lexus RX here, and I don't know if I'm missing out on an optional luxury seat upgrade or something like that, but if you're getting an RX, aren't you going to want four-way lumbar adjustment? Alyssa isn't very large. She's 5'2", and what she pointed out is that the lumbar was too high up on her back for her short height, and the seat wasn't very comfortable for her. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was something she mentioned, and I know if she's mentioning it, then it's notable. From a design standpoint, I appreciate it. I think it's a well-done design. Maybe not the most efficient use of space up here in the front, but again, if you're buying an RX, the way I picture it is you're past the days of having to cram as many things as possible and child items and as many drinks and phones and sunglasses. You've simplified your life a little bit, and you can throw a few things in the center console and be good to go. Speaking of the center console, it's got this kind of nifty feature where you can open it from one side like that, or press the button on the other side. Oh, and you break it. Oh my gosh. I've never had this happen. I guess if you open both sides, it sort of releases itself on this very flimsy lever. Okay, note to self. Goodness. All right, so make sure that's closed. I think I broke it. I think I've broken the lid. How in the world? There we go. All right, it needed a very strong push. I think we've saved ourselves, but I actually think you really got to slam that. It's not a very luxurious experience. Okay, goodness gracious. Okay, let me get this thing fired up. I can get some AC on me here. I'm heating up. It's a hot day today, and let's go for a little drive. Oh, on top of the cost situation, this engine just doesn't match the character of this car. This is a luxury, quiet, smooth riding and driving experience, and then you've got this little 2.4 liter engine. It makes plenty of power, but it doesn't make your power in a nice, smooth, luxurious way. And 15 years ago or something might have not been a big deal, but today, when you're used to hybridized, maybe fully electric sort of powertrains, and you get into something grainy like this, it doesn't fit. It really doesn't. We've got a whole breakdown on this large 14-inch infotainment display that will also apply to the smaller 9.8-inch display. Check the link below if you'd like to see that. A thought I had on it while using it, though, and kind of coming into this review and thinking about what I wanted to say, I overall like the system, but I wonder if it is going to be a little bit too busy and a little too cumbersome for people who aren't very tech-focused. And I worry that maybe I appreciate it because I am sort of a techie kind of guy. And if for people who like simpler things, if maybe it's going to be a bit overwhelming for them. I don't love having all the physical, or rather climate controls be in the touch screen rather than being physical. just doesn't make them as easy and intuitive to use. Again, this should be a very forgettable driving experience sort of car. Should sort of be a second nature extension of your body. I do want to point out, going here to the vehicle screen, look at all these driving assists. Lexus filled the RX out with all of its driving safety capabilities, and I do really appreciate driving assists, don't get me wrong. However, what I've experienced with this car is, again, something that Alyssa and I discussed. It's almost sensor overload. And what I mean by that is it's continually beeping at you. You pull up to an intersection and a car comes by and it beeps to warn you that a car is coming by. And then you put your blinker on, and even if a car is not really that close to your blind spot, it's beeping at you to let you know cars in your blind spot. There's been situations where we've got 2 left turn lanes, and even though I'm just making the normal left turn in the right lane, it's worried that I'm about to merge into the person in the left, and it's warning me for that. So there's so many beeps that happen in the car, and I'm worried, and Alyssa's the first one who pointed this out, but I sort of agree with her. I'm worried that you might become desensitized to all the beeping in this car, and then when a true emergency is happening or a warning sort of situation, your brain's not going to react to it as quickly because it's not going to startle you as much. Sometimes less is more when it comes to the safety assists. We averaged 29 miles per gallon on our highway fuel economy test in this car, but the EPA mixed driving number is only 24 mpg, and that's on premium gasoline. So again, if you could be getting in the mid-30s with the hybrid powertrain, that seems like the way to go for me. And it's not only a sound, it's a feel as well. You feel the vibration of the engine in the gas pedal, you feel it in the steering wheel, you feel it in your seat. Not a pleasurable experience for this car. Again, let's talk about the F-Sport package for a minute. 2 of the people who I feel would greatly appreciate a lot of the living and driving dynamics of this car are my mother and my wife, Alyssa. Both of them have vehicles with drive modes. For Alyssa, it's been multiple vehicles now. And not once have either of them ever changed their drive modes in their car. How do I know? Well, I asked him. I multiple times I asked Alyssa, hey, with our Ford Maverick, have you used this drive mode or that drive mode? Nope, never. With her Chevy Bolt, she's got a sport mode, and she likes to drive sporty. I asked her, you ever put it in sport mode? No, I just drive it. That is how owning the Lexus RX should be as well, and some manufacturers get that. Volvo, Tesla, 2 examples of they know people are just going to get in their car and drive them. But yet Lexus thinks that people are going to get in here and, ooh, this road's kind of curvy. I'm going to take my eyes off the wheel. I'm going to press that, and then I'm going to press the sport. And now, ooh, yeah, I feel the suspension firming up. I feel the steering firming up. The throttle's a little jumpier. I get this fake noise coming in. Maybe part of it is our fault, and by our I mean journalists, for hyping features like this up. They go on first drives and they're like, oh yeah, you throw it into sport mode and this thing really gets up and goes. It feels real sporty. Come on, guys. No, it doesn't. It's a Lexus RX. It's still driving with a little 4-cylinder inside. It's still a large 4,400 pound luxury crossover. I want to get in this car and I don't want to feel any road. I don't want to hear any road. I don't want to hear any engine. I simply want to hear my classical music, and I want to drive with a good adaptive cruise control, and I want to get to my destination and continue on with my life. And the thing is Lexus will give you an RX that does that. They will give you the luxury model. I think they even make an ultra luxury model of the RX that completely forgoes F-Sport and is just going to be a nice thing to drive and very simple and straightforward. That's what every RX should be, and they could have made it thousands of dollars cheaper per model if they hadn't even bothered going through that engineering and cost effort. Quick shout out to my buddy Adam, though. These seats are fantastic, despite the missing upper and lower lumbar adjustments, which I suspect might have something to do with the chip shortage now that I think about it some more. Going over that section of kind of undulating broken road there, ironed it out. Very nice right there. And that's the thing, I quite like the RX. I don't want this to come through as a negative review on the RX as a whole. I really do appreciate this car. I think there are a lot of people who would be better served in an RX than a lot of different luxury crossovers that they choose. But Lexus needs to be going all in on the luxury aspect of their car. That's why so many journalists have appreciated a lot of the newer Genesis products, is they drive like big, floaty, comfortable, and comfort and luxury only focused vehicles at a competitive price. This RX is actually still pretty competitively priced. The fact that you can get into an ultra luxury model with the hybrid powertrain for about $60,000, I mean, gosh, I drove a Grand Highlander that was nearly that price. So the pricing on the RX is right. It's this packaging that I don't appreciate. And I just wish Lexus would drop any sort of sporty elements on their cars like this and just focus on luxury and comfort, because you do it really well, Lexus. And you also need to focus on ease of use. I know things have been improved by getting rid of the trackpad, although I do know some owners who got really used to their trackpads and were totally fine with using them. But I firmly believe this touchscreen infotainment system is easier and more intuitive to use than the touchpad system before. But then you go and you add the climate controls into the screen, and it's like, I want to just be able to reach down with my eyes still on the road, tap my fan button a few times, and be on with my drive. Also, these haptic controls on the steering wheel. Again, yes, you could have the qualifier of, once you kind of get used to them, they're really not too bad. For those of you who don't know, these aren't normal buttons. They're they're real clicky buttons, but they're still touch sensitive, and they correspond up on the head-up display in front of me with which action I'm going to use them for. And what it results in is you sort of would have found best is if you want to use this right button, you actually have to start on a different button, like the top or the bottom, and then you slide your finger over, and then that movement sort of wakes the system up, and then you can actually engage the button you want. They're all right, they do work, and once you get used to them, yeah, they're fine. But I've been in this car multiple times now, and I've been in the other Lexus models that have this setup. I don't find it fixing a problem that I had in other cars. I don't see it adding to the driving or ownership experience. Something the RX does is right now it's braking for me because these cars in front of me are slowing down. I don't have any sort of adaptive cruise control set, and it's actually slowing itself down automatically and kind of adapting to the traffic in front of me. I haven't made up my mind about that functionality. I actually do kind of like it. But where it does rub me a little bit the wrong way is this doesn't have any sort of hybridization or electrification, which means all it's doing is burning up friction brake for me. And it does it smooth enough that I do think it's an example of kind of a safety and driving enhancement and feature that is executed well and doesn't interfere with my normal driving experience. But it is one of those things that kind of throws you off at first. You're like, what's happening? And you're like, oh, okay. I have had both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto go out on me before, where I'm simply listening to music, driving along, and the phone just disconnects and takes about 20 seconds to reconnect. So because it's happened with two different devices on two different operating systems, I'm inclined to think it's the car's fault, not the device. I've also had the system entirely restart on me. Just driving along, and all of a sudden it decided that it needed a little break. I mean, I get it. Sometimes we all need little breaks here in life, but again, not super inspiring for a production level vehicle here. Now, this is a car where I absolutely had to come out here and do a little bit of highway driving with you, because I'll almost go as far as to say all is forgiven in the RX up here at highway speeds. It does this part properly. I mean, it really does. You set the adaptive cruise control. It's got the lane tracing assist where it's going to kind of just not self-drive, but it's going to self-kind-of drive, and you just got to sort of keep a hand on the wheel, keep a little force on it, show that you're paying attention. Even on this concrete highway here, it's quiet in here. It's smooth. What I really wanted to do is Alyssa and I actually took this to a string quartet concert last night, and it would have been perfect to film going to a classical music concert in a Lexus RX, because that's really what you should be doing if you own a Lexus RX. But she didn't want to do the filming last night. I can't make her be on camera. I totally understand that, so I'm kind of recapping it here tonight. But this is the ultimate date night luxury music concert sort of car. It's comfortable, it's got room if you want to take 4 adults, no problem. You're gonna have a good time getting there. We were listening to classical music on the way home, and again, it was quiet, it was serene, and therefore you were able to appreciate not only the loud aspects of the music, but also the quiet, subtle aspects of music. I can't help but think that it would be just that much more quiet and comfortable without the F Sport badge on the side, but even as this thing is spec'd, and even with this clunky 2.4 engine in here, when it's just cruising here on the highway at some odd tachometer. I don't even have a tach right now. There you go. Disable the cruise, and we see in 8th gear we're running about 1750 RPM at 70 miles per hour. So very understressed engine, just clucking away there. I kudos to the RX. It is still a proper highway cruiser. So what did we learn about the RX this week? Still solid, still a great formula. Lexus needs to focus in on what the RX is, because there's too much choice in today's day and age, and people aren't staying brand loyal the way that they might have in the past. So if you're not going to do it right and focus in on what you do really, really well, people are just going to go to a manufacturer to get something different. I mean, get a BMW if you want to be sporty, get a Mercedes if you want to be all futuristic and tech focused and stuff. Go to one of the many other manufacturers that'll give you something electrified in this class, or Lexus will, I guess, as well. But if you're Lexus, luxury, comfort, quietness, refinement, those should all be your names of the game right there. So I like the RX, I really do. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is this. Alyssa says she thinks it's attractive. I don't like the big front beluga styling on the car, but most things considered, the RX is a win for me. Just 400 or 450h non-F Sport, ultra luxury. There you go. Thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the RX, we shot a lot of videos. Check the links in the description for those. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, quiet on.